This is Listen Lakeland, the show that keeps you up to date on all the things that make our city a great place to live, work, and play. Today's host is a passionate advocate for the healing power of the arts and a dedicated community connector. She leads the Watson Clinic Foundation's Arts in Medicine program, reaching over 50,000 people annually. She has developed initiatives such as the Polk Arts and Health Collaborative, the Breast Cancer Survivorship Workshop Series, and an annual citywide Arts and Health Week Festival. With a background in education, program development, and community engagement, she brings both heart and strategy to her work at the intersection of arts and wellness. Here's your host for today's episode of Listen Lakeland, Tiffany Van Wieren.
Welcome to the good life.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the July edition of Listen Lakeland Show, where we dig into the stories, people, and ideas shaping Lakeland that make it a great place to call home. I'm your host, Tiffany Van Wieren, and today we're going to talk about something that impacts every family here in Lakeland. How do we keep our kids engaged, creative, all of the things, right, over summer? Hopefully without tearing our hair out. You've probably heard of the term summer slide, but it's much more than a buzzword. Research shows that kids can lose up to a third of their learning if they're not actively engaged over the break. And those results are cumulative. So, we have to think about, how are we going to keep them engaged? And the great news is the city of Lakeland is filled with creative, accessible ways to turn summer into a season of enrichment. Joining me today are three amazing people who are at the heart of this movement. Julie Ward from the Florida Children's Museum, Stephanie Brown from the Lakeland Library team, and from Lakeland Mom, April Mucci. Today, we're going to talk about and explore programs, resources, and ideas that help our kids grow, not just academically, but creatively and socially too. So let's dive in. I'd love to start just having you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do. Julie, let's start with you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Julie Ward, and I spent 35 years in the Polk County Public School System as a teacher, assistant principal, and principal. And I wrapped that career up about 3 years ago and immediately had the opportunity to shift gears and move to the world of informal education, which takes place at the Florida Children's Museum. So we have a lot of learning that goes on there. It just doesn't look exactly like what it looked like in a classroom, but I'm excited to be able to continue my career in that space.
Wonderful. How about you, April?
I'm April Mucci. I own Lakeland Mom. I started it about 10 years ago, and we share things to do in Lakeland and across Polk County for families.
Wonderful. And Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Brown. I am the Assistant City Librarian at the Lakeland Public Library. I've been with the libraries about 18 years, and we are the free public resource for year-round reading and learning, and we have a lot of special programs and events in the summer in particular.
That's wonderful. I think because summer is it's a very prime season, right?
Yes, it is our busy season.
Yes, we don't think of it as, we think of it as our off season as for the learning component. But as a mom, I know, and I don't know about the moms at home or the parents at home, but I know that there's always this sort of balance between, okay, I have to keep my kids engaged, but I also have to give them time to be bored so they can get creative and learn on their own. And I also have to keep them not fighting. Especially if you have siblings, because they love each other, they're best friends, and they also fight if they get too much board time, So I'd love to start kind of talking about why summer matters. So Julie, as a former principal, what would you say are some of the differences that you would see from students who would come back to the fall school year, and the differences between those who've been engaging over the summer versus those who have not?
First, I'd like to say that I really appreciate you're using the word engage, because what I'm thinking of are not things that have to do with sitting down and doing a workbook of multiplication tables or flashcards. While certainly those things can be playful and fun and help sharpen some skills or keep them astute, I think that engaging with things, and that can take a lot of forms, can be the most important thing. So you use the example of your kids getting bored so that then they could find something to connect with, to engage with. And that might take on the form of creativity, as you mentioned. And that could be anything from art and drawing, but it could also be creative problem solving. Could be that kids want to build a playhouse in their backyard or the corner of the bedroom, and they have to improvise and use tables and chairs and blankets to do it.
My kids love a good box.
There you go. A box. We've all seen the examples of that a box turns into something much more fun than what came in it. So I think that the idea of engagement that certainly can take place for kids with sitting down in a quiet space and doing something like reading a book or doing a solitary activity, but it can also be a group activity. It could be organized like a baseball tournament or in soccer, or it could be informally playing outside with neighbor friends or having your cousins come from out of state, but the kids are connecting with something.
Yes.
And they're engaging, and they I also think that building some routines into the summer can be really important, because when kids return to school, for us that's in August, then we expect them to fit right back into routines. And if the children have not had routines during the summer for bedtime, waking up time, or even what's expected of them between those hours, that it can be hard for them to fit back into the routine of whether it be switching classes or time to have lunch and now it's time to go to PE, whatever the case may be. I think that routines and engagement are critical components to just keep in place, but that doesn't have to look and mirror exactly what happens at school.
Oh, yeah. And especially considering that the way that kids' brains are wired, we are, and even as adults, we're wired to play, right? And that is how we learn. And so, where I know for us, we do a lot of reading over the summer, but that my kids are just as quick to build a sword out of aluminum foil. But all of that is engaging. I love that you pointed that out. Stephanie, I would love to hear about, because I think people underestimate the amount of programming that the library system does. I mean, it really has. I mean, we've been to so many different programs at the library, and there's such a wide variety. How does the library view its role in that summer slide or that summer engagement?
Well, as I mentioned, we are a year-round resource. We obviously have books and reading opportunities throughout the year. But summer, we know, is a peak time for kids, parents to be able to come in more often, potentially different days, different times. We try to have essentially something going on every day of the week for different age groups. We have reading challenges that are encouraging them to actually be logging reading and interacting, whether it's read with parents, read with siblings, read by yourself, critical thinking, discussing your reading, or we have what we call Monday Fun Day and Florida Fridays at our Jackson branch and our main library downtown that are come in person. It's a drop-in program, but come do activities and crafts and have critical thinking discussions and try to engage in a different way about a specific topic that we're featuring. Our summer reading program this year is themed Destination Florida, so it's familiar to a lot of people. We're featuring kind of well-known places like St. Augustine or the Daytona Speedway, but also places that the kids may have been before, the beaches or theme parks, and also the state parks that we have. So getting, conversation points around, what would it be like to go there? Or what's your favorite thing? Or can you imagine being a turtle in the dry tortugas? So trying to get them to get a little play, a little imagination, and giving them opportunities to come to different STEAM and creative ththings too. So we have a lot going on in the summer.
So much. I love it. I love that there's so much available for families. April, for you've built Lakeland Mom from the ground up, and I don't know anybody in Lakeland that does not utilize Lakeland Mom as a resource for what's happening for families here in the area. But I'm sure you hear from parents constantly. What in your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges facing parents during the summer?
I don't know about challenges. I think most parents are looking, especially the parents that stay at home or have, time where they're keeping kids entertained, need to find things to do outside of the house. So maybe days at home and then days where you take them out, wear them out, and bring them home for nap time or downtime. So I hear from a lot of parents looking for things to do, but especially free things to do or inexpensive, because it adds up quick, and it adds up quickly when you have multiple children as well. So I think we have some amazing resources. The library programs are phenomenal. The Lakeland libraries and all of the other libraries around Polk County all have summer reading programs and weekly events and entertainers and things that aren't just story time. So I think that's an incredible resource. And Bonnet Springs Park has events, the Children's Museum. There's so many things to do. So it's just a matter of finding it and kind of making a plan and a structure of some kind, like Julie said.
And I think, too, as a parent, I don't know, and at home you might think about this as well. At least when I'm at home or we're bringing the kids out to like Bonnet Springs or the Children's Museum or the library, and they're playing hard, and you look at your partner in crime and you go, oh yeah, they're going to sleep good tonight.
Yes,
that's the goal. I mean, because summer they just have so much energy, and you want them engaged, but you really want them doing something that's meaningful. And that brings up a good point. So we have a lot of diversity in our community. Over 50% of our population is actually below poverty guidelines, and so accessibility is a huge factor for our area with our diverse population. I'd love to talk about, Julie and Stephanie, some of the programs that you guys are working on collaboratively, like the Arts and Culture Pass or like the Polk Plays membership. Can you guys speak to that?
Well, sure. We could start with the library or the cultural pass that's available at the library. And I think that some of our community members are very aware of this. And those who are, they take great advantage of it. And others who aren't, well, maybe they will hear this and it will help ignite something with them. But we started a program many years ago that was just based out of, I think it originally just started with the Lake Morton branch of the library, and then it expanded to all of the Lakeland, the different branches of the library in Lakeland. And now it has grown to reach to the whole Polk County Library Cooperative, which includes different municipalities like Bartow and Mulberry and Winter Haven and so forth that have public libraries, that in each one of those spaces, there is a pass available daily that if you have a library card, you can go to one of those branches, check out that pass, and it gains it gains admission into the Florida Children's Museum for that day. So it is something you have to go that morning and check out, and then you can come to the Children's Museum that day, basically to redeem it and obtain entrance into the museum at no cost. It's like checking out, just like you're borrowing the pass for the day. And that will allow a family to come in for the day. And Stephanie, would you like to add on to that, what you've seen from the library side of things?
Is there a size requirement, like number of tickets for that?
So it checks out to any adult Polk County library card holder.
So my 10-year-old can't go in and check it out by himself.
No, the parent adult has to be with them. And they also have to be present at the museum. It's not a take the pass and drop your kid for the day at the museum situation. But if you check out the pass, we give you a checkout slip, and that's what you take to the museum, and it's admission for up to 5, a group of up to 5.
Wonderful.
Right.
Wonderful.
So to clarify too, because people have asked me, you do not take the pass back to the library when you're done. You get a checkout slip.
It's just the slip, and you take that. And then the museum actually takes the slip.
Yes, we take it, and it's not anything that the family has to return. So it's not a round trip you have to make to the library. And so that allows, and there's no family income requirements with that. It's a great thing to be able to utilize as long as you have the library card already with the library. And we've heard stories of there sometimes being people lined up as soon as the library doors open, ready to check it out for the day. And there is only one per day, except in the Lakeland branches. Yes. And Stephanie, maybe you can remind people where those branches are.
Yes. So we have 3 Lakeland Library locations. The Lakeland Public Library is downtown on Lake Morton. Our Kelly Branch Library is in the Kelly Recreation Complex. And the Larry R. Jackson branch is North Florida. It's just north of the hospital on Florida Avenue by Simpson Park. Each of those locations has 2 passes available every day.
Right. So that would be 2 groups of 5 per day out of each of those branches. And if you showed up at the Lake Morton branch and theirs had been checked out for the day, they can tell you if the other branches in Lakeland have them available, and you can go get those. So that's the library cultural pass that the Florida Children's Museum offers. And there's no limitations on how many times a particular family can check it out. So they're not logging, you've already had it 3 times, you can't come back. No, it's available on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, we say first come, first serve. So if there's 2 out there, if one's on the shelf, you're welcome to take it.
Right. And then the second thing you mentioned, Tiffany, was the Polk Plays membership that's available for some families in our community. And this is through funding that the Florida Children's Museum has received through the county, through Polk County, through the wellness grant program that's administered by United Way. And this program seeks to serve those families who qualify for the EBT SNAP card. And with that, you can go online and search for Polk Plays. And if you do, it will take you to the Polk Plays website. And with that, you can read the requirements that are there. But as I said, it's basically that you have the EBT SNAP card. And if you do, this qualifies you to complete some information online. It gets submitted to the museum. And we have staff members that review it to make sure that all the proper things are provided and filled in. And then this can get converted into a full annual membership for the members of the household, up to all the children in the household and the adults that are there that are part of that EBT SNAP benefit. And then they have an annual pass to the museum, which for a family of 4, that's that equals $180 that would cost off the street for somebody to come in and purchase. So a little less than $200, but that allows unlimited visits to the Children's Museum for 12 months. And this is a way that we are encouraging families to come and be able to experience the museum on a repeating basis and giving their children the fabulous learning and exploration opportunities that the museum offers.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that was renewed. That was just recently, I think, on social media was just talked about.
Right. There was a pause while there was some evaluation going on with the grant, but it has been renewed. And so that is in a continuing component right now. So we invite families to go to Polk Plays as the starting place to read all the information. And hopefully, if you qualify, you can receive that benefit.
That's a wonderful benefit for families.
Sure
and
is.
A wonderful way to provide accessibility. And really, when we engage in play, we're really helping our health as well. And so allowing children these opportunities, and as parents, being able to explore with our children builds those connective tissues between our family members, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
April, I would love to hear a little bit more. I mean, I've been using Lakeland Mom forever, but I'd love to hear, I know you've grown quite a bit from when you first started. I'd love to hear some of the backstory of how you've built Lakeland Mom as a trusted resource and what you're working on right now.
Sure. So the backstory is I started looking for summer camps when my kids were 4 and 6, and they are now 14 and 16. So, but yeah, I couldn't find a resource, and I thought, well, I can research, and I know Lakeland. I've lived here my whole life pretty much. So that's how it started, and it has snowballed into very quickly snowballed into what it is today. So yeah, it's a website. We have a calendar of events and all kinds of resources and lists of things to do and places to go. And there is a weekly newsletter with the highlights of this week's story times, library events.
There's a weekly newsletter that goes out to your email?
Yeah.
How?
There is.
I just always go to the website.
That works too. But the email is like the highlights of what you can't miss.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a weekly newsletter, and then social media. So Facebook and Instagram somewhat. I don't do Instagram a whole lot. I'll be real honest. But yeah, and so those are all ways for people to find events, and most of what I share is free or low cost. So I love that it's accessible to anyone in the community. And again, all the local resources.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you provide. And I think, having these trusted organizations and trusted voices working together is such a valuable tool for our community. Speaking of communities, Stephanie, can you talk about some of the specific programs that the library is doing over the summer?
Sure. Speaking of low cost, all library programs are free to attend. Almost all of them do not require registration. Only certain ones, just because we're doing a specific skill, like sewing classes, we only have so many machines. So we do need to have a seat count on those. But our summer programs specifically have kind of a broad range. We have our summer reading challenges, which is the reading log component. That's not just for the little ones. We have a kids program and also a teen and adult challenge. The kids, we want them to read at least 3 days a week. If they do, there's a little incentive. There's a sticker and a little prize that you can come claim. For the teens and adults, they are just logging what title did you read, or kind of making progress in whatever book you're in. And they are entered into a grand prize drawing for up to one of 3 prizes, which are an annual pass to the Florida Aquarium, an annual pass for Florida State Parks, or Family Pioneer Pass for Mosey.
Oh, nice.
So they're kind of educational component, natural Florida component to our grand prizes.
Which matches the overall theme. I like it.
We love a theme. But in addition to the reading log piece, the programming, we have the story times that you might expect. Each of our 3 locations has a story time for preschoolers, the 2 to 5s. We have a baby story time. And we also have a bilingual preschool story time, Spanish, English, that's at our Jackson branch on the last Thursday of each month.
Oh.
But our STEAM programs, we've been trying to build up more. So we have a Lego Club that meets on Tuesdays at the Jackson branch throughout the summer. The main library has one called STEAM Explorers that meets on Wednesdays, that they do different things. We have Wonder Robotics. We have Techno Corner, Kids Corner Arts, and Beakers and Books. So they're doing science and reading, hands-on technology, coding type things, but in a fun way. Yeah. Makes it kind of a play and learn situation. And then we also have kind of some special event things that happen mostly in the summer. This summer, we've launched a Kids Crochet Club that meets weekly on Wednesdays at Jackson Branch. There's no skill level requirement for it. They welcome beginners as well. Preferable minimum age of 9. We want them to be able to have some hand-eye coordination there.
There's some fine motor skills involved.
Same with our sewing classes. We have sewing camps to introduce kids to sewing machines and hand sewing. That's a 9 to 13 or 13 to 17-year-olds that we have those throughout the summer. And then also we have Film Fridays where we show family movies every Friday at the Jackson branch. So there's something going on every day.
Wow, that is really amazing.
It's all free.
And it's all free, which is great. And a lot of it's indoors.
Yes. So pretty much all of it's indoors.
Yeah. Air conditioning.
And for the adults listening, there are also lots of free adult programs. I did a painting class 2 weeks ago.
Those are wildly popular.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful. And again, I run the arts and medicine program, so art is good for you. For all of you, this question, how do we kind of reframe for parents? You know, as a parent, I talked a little bit, and you kind of touched on this, you know, about keeping kids busy. We want to wear them out, right? April was talking about, they're going to go home, sleepy, which is wonderful. But how do we reframe this idea that we want to keep kids, rather than keeping them busy, to keeping them connected and engaged? How do we kind of reframe this as parents in our mind? How do we do that? And what are your thoughts?
So I think one big thing is reminding yourself as a parent that kids don't necessarily need big entertainment. It doesn't have to be a big event or a big activity or anything. They are happy, one, with time with their parents. They're happy with time with friends, time with siblings, and just keeping in mind that simple is okay. And you don't have to fill every minute of every day to make them happy and fulfilled children.
Oh, I love that. I love that, April. It's so true.
Yeah.
And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves.
Right. I'm going to piggyback on what April's saying, and I'm thinking about summer. There are many parents that are still working. The parents' lives really haven't changed over the summer. Their jobs might be continuing unless they happen to have the fortune to be a school teacher or have a job that's seasonal and have that same kind of break with their children. Parents are often trying to keep up with their own lives. And so they sometimes are looking for places for their kids to go, whether it be camp programs or maybe they have a neighborhood babysitter who's staying with the kids and they have more time. The children probably have more time at home regardless of what the parents' work life is. So what I would toss in there for encouragement is finding something that is more process and project based. Often during the school year, children are limited because they are going to have multiple nights a week where there's homework or there's after school or evening activities that often interrupt them being able to do something that's longer term. The summer is a great time to do something where, if we use a creative example of maybe an art or a craft type of a project, that you don't necessarily finish in one sitting. It's something that you do part of today and another part tomorrow, and maybe it stretches into the rest of the week or maybe a couple of weeks. And the same can be true of other types of activities, not just arts-based activities, although art fits very well in a process or project-based thing. It could involve a larger Lego building type of thing, or using blocks and to see how many different things you can create with the blocks that you're doing. But it doesn't always have to be something that gets finished today. I think about kids today being very used to doing something and checking it off the list because we're in such a fast-paced society. And we're kind of wired that way ourselves as adults. So I know it's happening for kids whose attention span is naturally a little bit less. So I'd encourage parents to try and think about something that sort of stretches their kids' sense of time and allows them to understand that things don't always happen instantly, that working on them over time is of great benefit. And then they get to see the fruits of their labor over time. Also lets them encounter the struggle sometimes that comes with things not working out, and how do I work through it to reach a resolution or to solve the problem that I'm having.
Yes, and how to come back to something after you've left
Exactly. And sometimes a night's sleep and looking at it fresh in the morning, you all of a sudden have discovered a solution or see the next direction you want to take with the project. So I like the idea of longer term things in the summer.
I love that. And that kind of goes to my next question, which is actually probably going to be my last question. We've had so much fun. We're almost done. I can't believe it. But what is one idea? So you kind of have talked about long-term projects. April and Stephanie, what's one idea that you can think of to kind of spark summer learning? And this can be something that you offer as well. So something to think about.
Well, I'll jump in and say we do the in-person programming Mondays at Jackson Branch called Monday Fun Day, and then Fridays at the main library called Florida Fridays. That is a mix of, I call them craftivities. Crafts that the kids can do solo or with parents. And we find a lot of the time they really want to work with the parent and they want to show them and show off what they're doing. And it's like those opportunities to engage and keep doing things. They're literally on the Daytona week, we're building a tiny little race car with wheels, and then they had a racetrack to try it out on. And they were just so proud. It's little moments, little things, and just having that time, that quality time together. And then we also mixed in like, hey, let's sit down and, read this book about Daytona Beach and talk about what would it be like to live there and what do race cars sound like. Just kind of get them thinking, but not in a, we're going to sit down and learn this way.
Yes.
Just
how about you, April?
Casual.
One of our traditions has been family game night. We have played games with our kids since they were little. And I think the skills they have learned from playing games, from counting to strategy, and as they've gotten older, it's been fun because now they can play adult games. But I think it's something that whether you work, whether you stay home, whatever your situation is, if you can find a time as a family to sit down and play a game, and it might be as simple, if your kids are little, there's only certain games they can play. Yeah. But knowing that, they eventually graduate to something that's a little more challenging. So, I think that's a great way to connect.
Okay, I'm going to advocate for the kids real quickly here and just say, summer, it can be the time that regardless of all the things we're saying about engagement and connection and all of those things, it also can be the time to sort of stretch wings a little bit, to try something new, stay up a little later, sleep in a little bit more, play barefoot in the yard, whatever it is. So I do think there's some elements of summer that are definitely worth embracing and having a great time with. And certainly all these things about reading and games and fun and arts and crafts and sports and engineering activities are great fun, and camps and so forth. But it's also a time to do something a little bit different, because to circle back to your initial question, Tiffany, I think that sometimes when kids have had an alternative or a break from the routines of school, it does refresh them and help them to come back to school in the fall with a renewed focus, perhaps.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that so much. I want to thank each and every one of you so much, Julie and Stephanie and April, for joining me today and for the incredible work that you each do every day to support families in Lakeland, whether it is accessing the Arts and Culture Pass and the multiple programs at the library, or exploring hands-on learning at the Florida Children's Museum, or just utilizing Lakeland Moms as a trusted resource, which is what you are. I think that summer doesn't have to be a season of stress. We can actually not have that stagnation. So let's keep our kids curious, creative, and connected. We'd like your feedback on ideas discussed in today's show. So head over to the Lakeland Vision website to participate in our monthly survey at www.lakelandvision.org. Thanks so much.
I said, welcome to the good life.
Listen Lakeland is brought to you as a collaborative project between Lakeland Vision, the City of Lakeland, and Hall Communications, a community working together to provide an exceptional quality of life. Want to watch the show? Check out the video version at lakelandvision.org. Thank you for being with us.